world.
Hello everyone, it's your boy Michael. We're gonna get soap real quick, hopefully patchouli scented soap. I haven't used soap in 3 days because I keep forgetting to buy it. By the time I get out of the shower, I'm like, I guess I don't need any shower supplies. Since 1770, Yardley bath bars have stood as a symbol of English luxury. Ooh, I didn't know ShopRite was so well regarded in the English luxury department. All right, YouTube, today we are talking about Gore-Tex, specifically Gore-Tex, and we're gonna compare it to Patagonia, North Face, LL Bean, because they all have their own kind of specific version of Gore-Tex, because Gore-Tex is not actually, if this was a jacket that said Gore-Tex on it, the entire jacket is not made out of Gore-Tex. There's a very specific golden doubloon inside the jacket that does all the work of Gore-Tex. And the outside and the inside is actually very boring stuff. But we'll talk about how Gore-Tex works, how Patagonia's version works, how North Face version works, how everybody else's version works, and why Gore-Tex is still the king of all of them by a long shot. Also, this is the Patagonia 3L Torrentshell, and we'll talk about why that rhymes, but also 3L is very specific. That has to do with how Gore-Tex works. Also, it's very mosquito-y. We'll talk about those bloodsuckers too. Very, very quick review of the Patagonia 3L Torrentshell jacket. Fantastic, eye size, true to size. It's fantastic. I got my dad one too. Very, very, very waterproof, not water resistant. Oh, by the way, this video is brought to you by HUCK. Specifically, today we'll be looking at their Rhodes Tracker boot, which is a very nice boot for the spring, I must say, but more on that later. Gore products allow patients to heal. Gore makes outdoor adventures comfortable, even in the unforgiving climate of Antarctica. Gore products reduce carbon emissions. Gore help transmit signals from the Mars rover back to Earth. That is Gore's incredibly robotic and creepy statement on their products. And Gore, obviously, is the big daddy that also owns Gore-Tex. And at the center of everything that is Gore products is a very specific material that I'm sorry, I have to read it because I can't really remember how to say it, is oh my God. Mosquito on my head. How gross. Polytetrafluoroethylene, which is not really that important to remember the name. You could remember PTFE if you want to, but at the center of everything, from cables to the little membrane that keeps the speakers on your cell phone safe when there's water, everything all has to do with PTFE, and more specifically, expanded PTFE, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's PTFE, just stretched out. And when you stretch it out, you get amazing qualities. And the reason that Gore products can be in cables and can do insulation and can be waterproof and can be windproof to varying degrees is because no matter how much you take that material, if you stretch it really far, it's really breathable. If you don't, it's not very breathable. So there's a lot of things that go on with that. If you take PTFE and you expand it just a certain amount, what you get is a very durable material that is porous, but the holes are actually small enough where water, like drips of water and stuff when it's raining outside, won't go through the fabric, but if you're sweating, your water vapor will fit through the little pores in Gore-Tex. So that's why it's so amazing, because it is breathable, but it keeps out actual water, like rain molecules, off of you, so you stay dry. And that membrane is basically the only thing on the jacket that matters, and the rest of the jacket's job is, well, there's one specific job that we'll get into in a little bit, but the rest of the jacket's job is to keep everything away from the membrane. If anything touches the membrane, it gets messed up. Not really, but oils can clog it. If it gets dirty, it's not as effective. It's just, you need to protect the membrane. So 3L and stuff like that is part of that protection and part of the comfort for you. Quick side note, as cool as Gore-Tex is when it comes to the environment, it is horrible. Ironically, it is the #1 material used in outdoors wear. It's literally meant to never get destroyed by the environment, which typically isn't good. So when people say my jacket is made of Gore-Tex, that's actually a very stupid thing to say. That doesn't make any sense. That's like saying my car is made of engine. Gore-Tex itself, what you're really paying for is the membrane in between layers of fabric. And that 3L, 2.5L, 2L that you see on waterproof jackets is basically talking about the layers that are protecting the Gore-Tex or keeping you comfy. So 3L fabric I feel like is the most common thing that you see, and the Gore-Tex is in the middle, and then laminated on the top and the bottom is usually something like a nylon ripstop, like this jacket for example, that's very tough and hard to rip and also very good at protecting the Gore-Tex. And then on the inside, it's usually a liner. So that's essentially how any waterproof garment works. Gore-Tex was the first to ever do it, and then after the patent ran out, other people got in the game. Patagonia, North Face, any big outdoors brand probably has their own proprietary version of Gore-Tex or whatever they call it. They're not all made the same though, and Gore-Tex is still far above everybody else, which we'll get into. But now, the other very important thing that is on all of these jackets, and coincidentally is even worse for the environment, is DWR. This video is sponsored by Huckberry. Specifically, today we're looking at the Rhodes Tracker boot, which is a very nice boot. If you'd like a full review on it, check out Carl Morawski. He just did a full video review on it, but I actually like this boot a lot. For one, it smells very strongly of leather, which is great. The top part of the boot is made out of a waxed suede, so it's super water resistant. The mud guard on the side is actually a smooth leather because suede is a little harder to clean. The sides are not suede, so you can brush everything off easily. It is storm welted, which is much more water resistant than a Goodyear welt, so that way if you're in the city and you walk through a puddle, you'll be dry, or if you like to go for walks in the woods, you don't have to worry about soggy feet, which is amazing. The boots also have a leather lining, and they use a Vibram gum-light sole, so they're very, very light. Especially if you've had Goodyear welted boots in the past, they usually have some decent weight to them. These are a little lighter than you'd normally see, but they feel very nice. They have a nice break-in period. They're very comfortable, and they're very stylish. I think they actually look great. So I highly suggest you check them out. You have to use my link though. If you don't use my link, it doesn't matter. Use my link and just buy everything on Huckberry, and Huckberry will be like, wow, Michael, you're so good, you're due for a promotion. The mosquitoes here are just insane. So if you've ever been to an outdoor store and you buy a waterproof jacket or a rain jacket, the employees are probably like, hey, also you need this spray. And you may be thinking, what's the point of buying this jacket if I could just spray this substance on it and it will do that for me? And you'd be wrong, because what's interesting is that your jacket, if it is waterproof, will probably, well, it will get not waterproof when it delaminates, which we'll talk about in a second, but the Gore-Tex layer or that membrane will never stop being waterproof and you need to respray something on it. That's not how it works. It'll stop being waterproof for a bunch of different reasons. It'll stop being breathable for a bunch of different reasons. But what you're buying is DWR, a durable water repellent finish that goes on the outside of your jacket with the most important job in the world. It makes sure that your jacket, the surface of your jacket, is hydrophobic. And what that means is when it's raining on a jacket, the water is essentially rolling off. It's not sticking to the jacket, so the jacket can be dry very, very easily and not get saturated with water or wet you out. And being wetted out is no good, because if you are wetted out and it's cold outside, you can die from hypothermia incredibly fast. That's actually why Patagonia, the most environmentally friendly brand on the planet, still includes DWR. I love going outside. I hate bugs. There's nothing more I hate than bugs. Oh, it's like total stimulus overload. So if you ask Patagonia, hey Patagonia, how waterproof is your jacket? They would say 20,000 millimeters, which basically means nothing. What they're saying is that if you have a square inch pipe and it's 20,000 millimeters long and you fill it with water and put it on top of the jacket, it'll stay dry. Great, thanks Patagonia. If I ever am in the jungle and a 20,000 millimeter square of water hits me, I'm glad to know I'll be dry. If you're looking for a kind of scale, 5,000 millimeters is typically the bare minimum to be a rain jacket. It's not very good. I don't suggest you go 5,000. They say 10,000 is starting to get a little bit better. 15,000 is a good waterproof rain jacket. 20,000 is basically almost the best rain jacket you can get. That is basically what you'll get outside of Gore-Tex, and that's great. We will save Gore-Tex's incredible technology for last, but 20,000 is what Patagonia uses, and obviously that 20,000 millimeters doesn't mean anything, but basically if you're outside, you're driving on a motorcycle, or it's very, very windy, the rain is just whipping on you, It's important to have a higher number to keep the water out when it's under a certain amount of pressure, and 20,000 is basically fail-safe. It's very, very difficult to be out in the wilderness in any condition and have your jacket be penetrated by water at 20,000 mm. So Patagonia essentially says, look, we do this crazy killer wash, we have the H2O no guarantee, we field test our garments, 20,000 millimeters is the most extreme conditions that you could possibly need a jacket for, we're good. Gore-Tex says, oh yeah? Gore products allow patients to heal. Gore makes outdoor adventures comfortable, even in the unforgiving climate of Antarctica. Gore products reduce carbon emissions. Gore helps transmit signals from the Mars rover back to Earth. Gore is English luxury. Gore-Tex says, but what about 28,000 millimeters, which is, if you remember, 5,000 is the bare minimum for like a rain jacket. Adding 8,000 to that is essentially like, not doubling, but it's adding another rain jacket on top of this jacket. Gore-Tex is insane. People say if you want a truly, truly, truly perfectly waterproof garment, it has to have Gore-Tex. And Gore-Tex, the material on the inside is important, but also Gore-Tex holds every single product with its name on it to an incredibly high, impossibly high standard. Everything is overbuilt, everything is overdone, and Gore-Tex smushes everybody else in terms of waterproofness by a mile. So that's why Gore-Tex is still relevant today. They are the best of the best of the best of the best in waterproofing, hands down. That's why Patagonia, North Face, and LL Bean all still offer Gore-Tex products, because if you really want the most extreme version, you get Gore-Tex. Sadly, there is a downside to all of these products, and that is that they have a limited shelf life, because that 3L, that laminate that we talked about before, comes delaminated, I'd say after about 10 years. For some people it's probably a lot shorter. It depends on how much you wear the garment, the conditions that it's stored in. Some people say 3 to 5 years. Some people say they've had their Gore-Tex jacket for 30 years and it's been fine. I doubt that. You'll start to see, like in certain areas, the fabric bubbles, and that is the actual two fabrics separating from each other. And then it's not waterproof, which is a shame, because that's what you want. So the alternative material to the PTFEs and everything like that is simply just waxed cotton, which is just a very, very, very tightly woven piece of cotton fabric with beeswax or some type of wax over it that does a pretty good job at being waterproof. It's very, very, very water resistant. I've stood in a shower for a very long time to test that out. You'll stay dry. It's not anything, if you're going somewhere where you need a performance fabric, I wouldn't recommend it, but it is a good, more environmentally conscious alternative. No, there's another mosquito on my face. And you'll have to reapply the wax every year, and sometimes that's a pain in the butt, but when it comes to the environmental impact, typically it's much lower. Just don't use a petroleum-based oil. Meanwhile, the mosquito in the background is like, and you'll be good. You could use auto wax. My link is also in the description. But anyways, that is about it. I will see you all. Do you think that maybe the mosquito sucked part of my brain? It's like right there. Next week, when Redcast Heritage Company is sending me a very special pair of jeans and they requested a review. Now that's English luxury.